Cable news intro music out of the dark, aggressive, urgent narrator. On the sun-bleached edge of the Dubai Marina, where multi-million-dollar yachts slice through turquoise waters, the city raised what was supposed to be the ultimate oasis of ultra-luxury. 60 stories of pale, shimmering glass leaning heavily toward the Persian Gulf. But look closer. It is sealed. Lifeless. Jet-black shadow cast over a glittering boardwalk. For nearly a decade, it has stood completely finished on the outside and frozen within. A 200-meter monument of pure glass and steel that nobody can complete, nobody can sell, and nobody can bring down. Why? Because the most expensive mistake this mega project ever made was never measured in dirhams or dollars. This is the Marina Apex, a 670-foot hyper tower marketed to global elite investors as the crown jewel of the waterfront. It was designed to pull in $272 million across 80 ultra-luxury, high-ceiling condominiums. Instead, it leans exactly 3 inches to the north. The structural glass has begun to warp under catastrophic tension. The official municipal certificate of occupancy never arrived. And tonight, the real question isn't just how a brand-new, cutting-edge skyscraper began to bend in the desert sun. It's this. Why can a city-state defined by its ruthless, hyper-efficient development not simply obliterate a tower it cannot use? Why is leaving a dangerous, unstable skyscraper standing cheaper than fixing it or ripping it apart? The answer is colder than bad engineering. To understand why the Marina Apex bends, you have to go beneath the glitz of the promenade, down into ground that was never solid, because the hard truth about the Dubai coastline is that beneath the concrete, the soil is a ticking clock. And the original sin of this tower started before the first shovel ever touched the sand. Sound effect, drone flying low over water, dramatic beat logic narrator. The bedrock of the UAE is a myth if you don't dig deep enough. Much of the ultra-luxury coastline isn't ancient stone. It's marine reclamation. Centuries of shifting seabed and loose sand pumped together to engineer artificial ground. The stable strata a skyscraper needs to anchor. Its weight lies deep beneath the water table. The honest way to build a 60-story monolith here is the expensive way. Drive heavy friction piles down through the unstable. Waterlogged silt until they bite into solid geological formations. Every single tower framing the Dubai Marina did exactly that. Except this one, during the design phase, the master developer's own geotechnical team explicitly recommended deep pile foundations. But the investment group chose a lethal shortcut: soil improvement through vibro-compaction. A high-speed, vibrating probe packs the loose sand together tightly, so it acts, temporarily, like solid ground. According to court records from the subsequent multi-million-dollar litigation, the calculation came down to pure greed. The savings from skipping the deep piles were just 2% of the total construction budget, roughly $6 million saved on a project slated to return a staggering $250 million. That $6 million is the foundational lie of the Marina Apex for 3 years. The tower rose. To the public, it was an engineering marvel. But beneath the surface, the treated sand was failing under brutal reality. As the full weight of 60 concrete floors pressed down, the water-saturated soil shifted unevenly. Like a heavy safe placed on a wet sponge, one corner of the foundation sank faster than the rest. In the engineering world, this is differential settlement, the exact nightmare scenario the original soil report warned about. By the time the structure topped out, the concrete subcontractor put the panic in writing. Extreme structural drift, uneven foundation load, and a 3-inch lean toward the north. In a world where high-speed elevators and glass facade brackets are engineered to a single millimeter of tolerance, a 3-inch tilt is a death sentence. The custom glass panels began to crack and pop out of their tracks. The site became a legal crime scene. The general contractor blamed the foundation. The developers blamed the contractor's concrete pours. The skyscraper was structurally dead before the interior paint was even dry. Sound effect, metal under tension. Cold, creepy echo narrator. A luxury tower is not complete when the concrete roof is poured. It is complete when the skin goes on, the desert heat stays out, and the municipality grants the final building completion certificate. That single document transforms a concrete husk into a multi-million-dollar asset. Without it, you own nothing but a vertical liability. On a normal skyscraper, The glass curtain wall hangs on high-precision steel anchors. But on a tower drifting up to 2 inches out of alignment between individual floors, the math broke. The specialized glass panels stopped lining up. Worse, the extreme Middle Eastern heat began to trigger severe glass fatigue. As afternoon temperatures surged past 45 degrees Celsius, the twisted frame expanded unevenly, putting immense torque on the warped facade. Windows buckled. Some panels were never installed, others were hastily dismantled by engineers terrified they would shatter and shower the marina boardwalk with razor-sharp debris. Gaps were left open to the elements, exposing raw concrete to brutal humidity and salt-heavy marine air. Internal water pipes began to crack from the structural distortion, causing hidden leaks that rotted the luxury insulation from the inside out. The developers' strict funding agreements mandated a partial completion certificate for the lower-tier penthouses by early 2020. They missed the deadline completely. By mid-2020, every crane on site went dead. All work was halted by municipal order. Behind the scenes, 71 of the 80 ultra-luxury apartments had already been snapped up by international investors. Millions of dollars in deposits from buyers in London, Mumbai, and Moscow were already wired, locked in escrow, or spent. Families had mapped out lives around elite Dubai Marina addresses that would never legally exist. If a tower is this broken, the logical solution is to tear it down and start over. But this is where the Marina Apex turns into a financial black hole. You cannot implode a 60-story skyscraper in the heart of modern Dubai. Controlled demolition via explosives is impossible on a hyper-dense waterfront site hemmed in by the bustling tram line, luxury yacht berths, and occupied 5-star hotels just meters away. It can only come down the agonizingly slow way it went up. Crane by crane, floor by floor, a grueling process projected to take years and cost an absolute fortune. Sound effect: tidal swells against seawall. Ultra-low free drone narrator. Dismantling a structurally compromised, leaning tower that is actively glass is infinitely more dangerous and more expensive than building a straight one. By late 2020, foreign banks and international lenders moved to foreclose on an outstanding construction loan totaling over $120 million. The case dissolved into a legal quagmire of commercial arbitration filings. The global asset managers watching the disaster play out summarized the fallout in 2 brutal words: exponential devaluation. By 2021, the Marina Apex was handed over to a court-appointed receiver, a corporate custodian tasked with managing a vertical ghost ship that no one could salvage, and no one could legally demolish. Here is the cold financial math that keeps every stakeholder frozen in place. More than $250 million has already been sunk into this structure. The only genuine structural fix is as a massive underpinning operation, driving heavy steel structural piles all the way down to deep bedrock beneath a pre-existing, shifting 60-story building. The engineering required to do that would be ruinously expensive. And laser telemetry data shows the tower is still quietly settling into the soft coastline, even if an engineering firm pulled off a miraculous, flawless repair. The tower's toxic reputation is permanent. No ultra-high net worth buyer, international bank, or Tier 1 insurance firm will ever touch the infamous leaning tower of the marina. The elite units were marketed at thousands of dollars per square foot. Today, their actual market value is zero. Fixing it loses money. Finishing it loses money. Tearing it down loses a fortune and leaves a worthless plot of waterlogged sand. That is why it stands there, rotting in the salt air. Not because any entity wants it, but because doing absolutely nothing is the only option that avoids writing the single largest loss check in the history of the district. But the most devastating number tied to this disaster doesn't appear on any corporate balance sheet. The failed engineering behind this tower wasn't just about cutting corners on sand compaction. It was a failure of human consequence. In late 2017, long before the structure drifted an inch off center, a third-generation migrant construction laborer named Tariq fell from an unsecured platform on the 29th floor. He was 43 years old, working 12-hour shifts in the crushing Gulf heat to send money back to his family in a rural village outside Faisalabad. He was wearing a safety harness, but it was clipped to a temporary guardrail that a site supervisor had ordered dismantled to speed up the concrete pour. A direct violation of safety protocols. The offshore shell company managing the subcontractors was hit with a regulatory fine of just under $10,000. That was the price tag put on his life. That is the true foundation of the Marina Apex, not the shifting sand. The institutional belief that human capital, like engineering integrity, is just another line item cost small enough to be managed away. Sound effect. Heavy wind sighing through raw steel gaps. Fade to low beat narrator. The Marina Apex will likely stand for decades to come, a silent, pale phantom casting its crooked shadow across the yachts of the billionaire class. It will remain frozen until the raw value of the land beneath it finally surpasses the astronomical cost of removing the concrete ruin above. It is a permanent warning etched into the world's most famous skyline. Proof that the most dangerous architectural shortcut is never the physical one you can see on a blueprint. It is the compromise made in the boardroom long before you ever break ground. For now, the tower waits, leaning 3 inches into the desert wind, a $250 million monument to the cost of cutting corners. Cable Nustro music builds to a sharp, definitive